When did your childhood friend realize you weren't the same person from high school? My high school best friend Brett walked into the coffee shop wearing an expensive suit and immediately started laughing at my basic polo shirt and jeans. This meetup was the first time I'd seen him since I got expelled senior year for setting off firecrackers in the principal's office 12 years ago. Holy hell, you actually showed up on time for once in your life, he said loud enough for everyone to hear. Remember when you got suspended 17 days straight for sneaking cigarettes behind the gym? He told the barista about how I once got arrested for vandalism at 16 while ordering his complicated drink. This one here was legendary, for all the wrong reasons, he announced to the whole coffee shop. Spent more time in detention than actual classes, and everyone knew he'd end up in prison or dead by 25. Brett steered us to a corner table and launched into his success story about making partner at his law firm. Meanwhile, what are you doing these days? Last I heard from my mom, you were working at some call center, which sounds about right for someone who never graduated, he said while scrolling through vacation photos from Europe. No judgment though. We all knew you'd end up answering phones or flipping burgers since you literally set your textbooks on fire junior year. He kept going about how his parents still used me as an example of wasted potential. They literally say, don't end up like that Neil kid who threw his life away. He laughed while taking pictures of his fancy coffee. Remember when the guidance counselor said you'd be lucky to hold any job for 6 months? A woman at the next table was clearly eavesdropping and shaking her head at everything Brett said. I work at the emergency dispatch center actually, I tried to interject, but Brett waved me off. Right, the call center thing where you probably transfer people to tech support, he said, scrolling to another photo. Brett, I save lives for a living, I said more firmly, but he just laughed harder. Sure you do, buddy, just like how you were going to be a rock star, he said, showing me a picture of his new boat. My parents still tell that story at dinner parties. He leaned back, grinning. At least you're employed, which is more than anyone expected. The eavesdropper was rolling her eyes and trying to get my attention, but I stayed focused on Brett showing me photos of his house. You definitely couldn't afford my neighborhood on a call center salary, he continued. He was pulling up another photo when the pregnant woman 3 tables over gasped and grabbed her stomach. Her water broke all over the floor as she cried out in pain, and her husband started panicking about the baby coming too fast. Everyone froze, including Brett, who just stared with his mouth open as the woman collapsed into a chair, screaming that something was wrong. I immediately jumped up and took control while my hand stayed completely steady. Sir, support your wife's back and everyone else give us space but don't leave, I said in the calm, authoritative voice I'd perfected over 6 years. I knelt beside the woman, whose face was twisted in agony, and started assessing her condition. Ma'am, I'm a senior emergency dispatcher, and I've guided over 40 emergency deliveries, so I need you to trust me. Her husband was shaking as I positioned him to help support her. The baby is coming now, she screamed through contractions that were barely 30 seconds apart. Something feels wrong and there's so much pressure. My training kicked in immediately. You in the green shirt, call 911 and tell them we have precipitous labor with complications at Rosewood Coffee on 5th Street. I directed a man near me, who immediately started dialing. Brett, grab clean towels from behind the counter. You in the blue dress, bring the first aid kit, I commanded while helping position the mother. The woman in blue ran over with the kit, staring at me in amazement. Wait, are you the dispatcher who talked me through my son's seizure last year? She asked, recognizing my voice. Brett stood frozen holding towels as his face went pale, watching me work. The baby's head started crowning, and that's when I saw the cord wrapped tight around the neck. The cord is around the baby's neck, but we can manage this if everyone listens, I explained, while carefully guiding the husband through helping me loosen and unwrap it as gently as possible. Blood was everywhere, but I stayed focused while Brett looked like he might faint. The baby's head emerged purple, and I checked for a pulse. She's not breathing right, the mother screamed. One more controlled push on my count, I told her. The baby girl arrived into my hands, clearly needing some help breathing. I quickly cleared her airways and stimulated her back until she gasped. Her first cry filled the coffee shop as everyone sobbed while I wrapped her in towels and placed her on her mother's chest. The paramedics rushed in just as I finished ensuring both were stable. Neil, thank God you were here, the lead paramedic said. This man has saved more lives than anyone in this city. Brett finally found his voice as they loaded the gurney. That can't be right. He never even graduated, he said, trying to laugh, but nobody joined him. The barista handed me free coffee while Brett